he whispers, began on the third hole. By the back nine, the entire golf world was scrambling to understand what they were witnessing. Charlie Woods, the kid who's been in the spotlight since he could barely walk, just did something nobody saw coming. Not the commentators, not the analysts, not even his own team. As the round progressed, those whispers became gasps, then full-blown shock. This wasn't just unexpected golf. This was a complete departure from everything we thought we knew about Charlie Woods as a player. Was it a meltdown? A breakthrough? A rebellion against everything he'd been taught? The truth is far more complex and fascinating than any simple explanation. Let's be clear, this isn't a story about a kid playing badly or playing well. This is about a 16-year-old making choices that had golf legends texting each other in real time, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. These were decisions that defied every conventional approach to tournament golf. This performance will be debated and dissected for months, because what Charlie did has massive implications for his entire career trajectory. The tournament started normally enough. Charlie arrived with his usual composed demeanor, went through his practice routine, and looked ready for another solid performance. Expectations were reasonable, top 10 finish, maybe top 5 if things went well. Nobody predicted fireworks, but everyone expected competent, steady golf from the kid trained by one of the greatest to ever play the game. The kind of golf that wins junior tournaments through consistency, patience, and smart course management. Then the first round began, and immediately something felt different. Charlie's pre-shot routine, usually methodical and measured like clockwork, seemed faster, almost rushed. His club selection raised eyebrows among those paying close attention. On the second hole, a straightforward par 4, where conventional wisdom says, lay up safely and take your par, Charlie pulled out his driver and attacked a line that most professionals would consider unnecessarily aggressive for an opening round. The commentators chuckled nervously. Bold choice for a young player, one said. Perhaps feeling some pressure to make a statement early, another suggested. But Charlie wasn't done. Hole after hole, he made decisions that contradicted everything anyone knew about percentage golf, about playing the odds, about the conservative approach that usually wins tournaments. This wasn't just aggressive golf. This was something else entirely, and nobody could figure out what they were watching. Here's where it gets really interesting, where the performance shifted from unusual to absolutely shocking. The back nine didn't bring course correction or a return to conventional play. If anything, Charlie doubled down on the aggression. On the 13th, facing a 220-yard approach over water to a tucked pin, the safe play was obvious to everyone watching. Lay up, take your par, move on. Every caddy in America would have handed their player a wedge and told them to play smart. But Charlie asked for his 3-wood. His caddy reportedly hesitated, started to say something, then just handed him the club. What happened next had jaws dropping across every clubhouse and sports bar showing the tournament. Charlie took his stance, and with absolute commitment and pure conviction, he swung. The ball launched on a trajectory that seemed impossible, fighting against wind, physics, and common sense. For a moment, it looked like disaster. The ball appeared to drift toward the water, and you could almost hear the collective intake of breath from everyone watching. Then something remarkable happened. The ball caught an updraft, rode it perfectly, and landed on the green, rolling to within 15 feet of the cup. The gallery went wild, but the golf purists were conflicted. Yes, it was an incredible shot, but was it smart? Was it sustainable? Was this the kind of golf that wins tournaments, or was this a highlight reel wrapped around a ticking time bomb of eventual disaster? Charlie's demeanor through all of this was perhaps the most shocking element. There was no visible stress, no second-guessing, no apparent concern about what anyone thought. He moved from shot to shot with purpose, making aggressive choices that seemed to come from some internal compass only he could see. It was as if he'd decided to play a completely different game than everyone else on the course, operating by rules that existed only in his own head. The 15th hole brought the moment that's already been turned into 1,000 hot takes across golf social media. A drivable par 4, but with trouble everywhere, bunkers left, water right, and a green notoriously difficult to hold even with a short iron. The conventional play, the one every golf instructor in the world teaches, is to hit an iron off the tee, leave yourself a comfortable wedge distance, and take your birdie chance from there. Safe, smart, percentage golf. Charlie pulled out his driver again. His playing partners exchanged glances. The crowd murmured nervously. Even the announcers went silent, as if they couldn't quite believe what they were seeing. Then Charlie unleashed a drive that was simultaneously brilliant and terrifying. The ball flew on a thread, barely clearing the bunkers, flirting with disaster on every inch of its flight path before landing softly on the front of the green and rolling to within birdie range. The social media reaction was instant and completely divided. One camp celebrated the fearlessness, the confidence, the refusal to play scared. "This is what golf needs," they declared. A young player who isn't afraid to attack, who plays with his heart on his sleeve, who brings excitement back to a sport that's become too conservative and calculated. The other camp was equally vocal in their criticism. "Reckless," they said. "Unsustainable. He's going to crash and burn playing like this. Someone needs to rein him in before he ruins his career with this approach." But here's what made this performance truly shocking, what nobody could argue with. It kept working. Not every shot was perfect. Not every gamble paid off. But Charlie maintained a level of execution that made his aggressive strategy viable and competitive. He was living on the edge, playing golf that looked reckless on paper but somehow worked in reality. And as the round progressed, you could see a transformation happening, not just in his game, but in the narrative surrounding him. By the time Charlie finished his round, the golf world was in complete chaos trying to process what they'd witnessed. His score was competitive, good enough to keep him in contention, but that almost felt secondary to the larger question hanging over everything. What had everyone just watched? Was this a kid rebelling against the conservative approach he'd been taught? Was it a calculated strategy to separate himself from the pack? Was it pressure manifesting in unexpected ways? Or was this simply Charlie Woods announcing to the world that he was going to play golf his way? Consequences be damned. Golf analysts immediately began comparing this performance to pivotal moments in the careers of other greats. Some drew parallels to young Phil Mickelson's aggressive style that eventually won him majors and made him one of the most exciting players to watch. Others compared it to players who flamed out trying to do too much, who let ego and emotion override smart course management and destroyed promising careers. The debate raged on every sports network, every golf podcast, every corner of the internet where people discussed the game. But perhaps the most shocking element wasn't what happened on the course. It was the conversation this performance sparked about pressure, expectations, and identity. For years, Charlie Woods has existed in an impossible space between being his own person and being Tiger Woods' son. Every swing has been compared. Every decision has been analyzed through the lens of his father's legacy. Every tournament result gets measured against impossible standards that no teenager should have to carry. And maybe, just maybe, what we witnessed wasn't recklessness or strategy or pressure cracking. Maybe it was simply a young man declaring his independence in the only language he knows: golf. Think about the psychological weight Charlie has carried since childhood. Imagine being constantly measured against arguably the greatest golfer of all time, not by strangers alone, but by your own bloodline. Imagine every coach, every analyst, every fan having an opinion about how you should play, what you should do, who you should become. The question now isn't whether Charlie played well or poorly. The question is what this means for his future. Will he continue down this aggressive path? Will coaches and advisors pull him back toward conventional approaches? Will this moment be remembered as the turning point where Charlie Woods found his identity? Or will it be a cautionary tale about a talented kid who self-destructed trying to prove a point? Nobody knows the answers yet, but one thing is absolutely certain. Charlie Woods just delivered the most shocking, most debated, most analyzed performance in recent junior golf history. And whether you think he's a genius or reckless, whether you loved it or hated it, you can't deny that he's got everyone's attention. The kid who's lived in the shadow of greatness just stepped into his own spotlight. And the golf world will never look at Charlie Woods quite the same way again.